But
Sure.
let's talk about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and a team that now has a new quarterback. Tom Brady era is over in Tampa Bay after a couple seasons. And you've got now Baker Mayfield, a guy who wasn't a 4,000 yard passer, wasn't like a 30 something yard touchdown thrower. I mean, he was a run of the mill, 3,500, 25 touchdown type guy. He's a game manager at times. He is a player. Like, this guy has got grit in him. It's the type of guy you want running your offense mentally. But he's got good receivers. You've got Mike Evans. You've got Chris Godwin. You've got Gage, I believe, right, is still there, and you
Cameron
lose
Brady.
Brait, and you lose your running back in Fournette, who I thought was kind of like a parking brake for that team. I think he slowed them down. He had a great season, but his yards per carry were terrible. The whole team's yards per carry were terrible. I think the fresh legs of Rashad White will be nice. But again, where you're taking these guys, like where Mike Evans is going, I want receivers around him. You know, Godwin, you may take a chance on, but again, you got to look at who's to the left and right of you and understand that there's probably better value on the board because, again, you're talking about Baker Mayfield that barely was able to give positive success to two receivers with Landry and Odell Beckham for one season out of their time together in the Browns. So you can't expect both these guys to be, and this, fantastic coming off of a 5,000 yard passing season from Tom Brady.
Yeah, I think that I did a video last week on Mike Evans, and he's kind of one of my bust candidates this year. I think he's going to have his first sub 1,000 yard receiving season this year. Baker Mayfield has proven his entire career he does not sustain deep ball receivers,
Yeah.
and Mike Evans is the definition of a deep ball receiver. I mean, I get it. He can run the short routes too, and he can be productive there. But over the last 8 seasons, a lot of his touchdowns and a lot of his bigger games came off the deep ball. Those multi-touchdown games, those 100-plus yard receiving games were off the deep ball.
Yeah.
I think Chris Godwin is in a much better position to have a good season with Baker Mayfield. But this is kind of like prove it to me. And I don't really trust anyone in this offense until it's proven to me that Baker can run this offense.
Correct.
And even with Rashad White, like I love Rashad White. I'm an Arizona State guy, Arizona State alumni. So I got to watch him, play because I, watched the terrible the Pac-12. But I don't know if Rashad White is going to be able to sustain the backfield by himself. I think he's going to have the opportunity for having that backfield to himself and getting the majority of the touches and being productive with them. But I don't know how sustainable that is. And I also don't see him breaking into the top 10 running backs. So
No. As a running back
he's
one,
a guy I like at value, and same with Evans and same with Godwin. Like I like those guys at value, but compared to we're talking about what the last 3-4 years of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have been, and all these guys have produced at every kind of level, and they've been top guys in the league and guys you want to go and draft in the first 3 or 4 rounds, and they're not that this year.
No.
I wouldn't take any one of these guys in the first 4 rounds. Mike Evans is probably the lowest drop for me. Godwin I would probably take in the 4th or 5th round. But then Mike Evans is probably going to be dropping to maybe the 6th or 7th round for me in my where I would want him at value. And he's probably not going to be there. Someone's going to take him, and I'm fine.
Exactly.
I'm fine with saying go ahead and take him. I'll get someone else that I like, because I think guys like T. Higgins, Devonta Smith, those guys are much better value at where they're going to go. Even getting, I think Jordan Addison is probably going to have a better season than both of them. And Jordan Addison you can get in the 8th round.
Yep. Yeah. I agree. I again, like you, just like you said, it's like you're going to shy away from Mike Evans. You take a flyer on Godwin at value, and by at value we're meaning lower than what their ADP is. That's what we're saying at value. And same thing with White is I'd take him at value as well, because at the end of the day, he's going to get the volume, he's going to get the opportunity, And if you are somebody who goes hero running back and take one big guy up top and then go heavy on receivers and or quarterbacks and tight ends, and then you try and go for a running back a little later, this guy drops down to you. You've got a solid RB2 in terms of volume. And it's, again, a show me is like, are you going to be better than 3.7 yards per carry? And if you are,
Yeah.
it's a successful running back too. But if you're not, and you're just like you were last year, it's tough for me to put my season on the line with a team that's so questionable that couldn't protect Tom Brady. How are you going to protect Baker Mayfield?
Yeah, and just to clarify, this is a team that it's not a strict avoid. This is a pump your brakes and a cautionary tale. All right, to let's see what this offense is before you kind of dive into it, and maybe don't reach for these players. And if they fall to you to where you feel there's no one else around you around that you like, then go and get these guys. But I'd be very cautious about drafting any one of these guys.
Well, this isn't a void for me. It's an avoid in terms of what their value is and where their ADP
Right.
is. That's my avoid.
Right.
Last one is where we kind of differ a little bit. I don't know if we agree somewhat, but we differ on other things, and that's the New Orleans Saints. And I'll say my piece and let you counter it, but I think we're gaslighting Derek Carr too much in the football industry. And I'm not saying he's a bad quarterback, but we're talking about a guy that, 2 years ago he threw for 4,800 yards. But guess what? He didn't throw for 4,000 last year. And he barely threw for 4,000 3 seasons before that. And he hasn't thrown for more than 27 touchdowns in like 6 seasons. This guy is a perennial mid to low 20 touchdown quarterback. He's going to throw double-digit interceptions. He's going to barely touch 4,000 yards, and he's not good in the running game. And when you put that on the plate, what makes him any different than Andy Dalton, who, last year it was a tough season because their offensive line was riddled with injuries. But Andy Dalton is a perennial 3,500 to 4,000 yard passer. He's a perennial low 20 touchdown passer and double-digit interception guy. So, they got a gamer. They got a guy that's got grit and stuff like that. And he wants to win ball games, and you bring a new attitude to it all. But you add on the top that Michael Thomas has not been healthy since 2019. You bring on the top that your number one running back may be suspended for part or all season. You bring back the fact, too, that you now take away those two guys and you've got Chris Olave running solo around there, who was being successful last year doing it. He also was unsuccessful for many games doing it because they just couldn't keep up with the fact that, hey, let's just take him out of the game, and defenses did that. You got Juwan Johnson there as a tight end, solid tight end, had some good games last year, but he also fell off the face of the earth. And then you've got the ultimate tight end in Taysom Hill, who you never know what's going to happen. Now, like Jamal Williams, the goal line god of last year, if he's going to get his goal line work sniped away. And then you've got a great rookie running back there too as well, that if you don't have Kamara there is worth taking a shot on. But to me, they did not impact the team enough by adding another wide receiver weapon to them, because I think they're going to be losing Landry. He's a free agent too. They didn't add another wide receiver weapon. They added a running back there, and they added the quarterback there. But there's too many questions for me to want to take a chance on Michael Thomas and have my season ruined like it did for people last year. Take a chance on Kamara in the first round where he was going, or early second round where he was going, and ruin my season again this year. So to me, this is a team I'm avoiding, even though they have arguably top 3 easiest strength of schedule going into the season. That is based off of last year's numbers. You have the Atlanta Falcons, who paid a lot of money to boost their defense. Falcons to boost their defense. The Bucs are great against the run every single year. They're a stone wall, and they're going to boost their D-backs because that was their weakness last year. And the Carolina Panthers, the question mark in the division. I just don't like this team enough that I want to have pieces on my team anchoring my team. I'm not saying I wouldn't take one of them if they go at value. I'm not saying I wouldn't take a shot at somebody, but I'm not trying to anchor a position on my team with one of these players. If Michael Thomas is my flex, I'm not mad at that. But if Michael Thomas is my wide receiver 2, I don't want to have to hang my hat on that every single week and hoping that he stays healthy, because he's still unsure if he's healthy. They say he's the best shape, the best healthy he's been in a long time. What's that mean?
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of what I see with this team is that they're going to be there. There's a lot of mouths to feed. I think there's a lot of talent here. All right, let's just say Michael Thomas comes back the healthiest he's ever been. Right, he's very talented. Olave is very talented. Shaheen is a deep threat that I think fits Derek Carr very well. I think Shaheen is going to be an undervalued guy this year that I would take a late round, 14th, 13th pick, very very late in the draft on if he's still there, or if there's another if there isn't another guy that drops way down that I like. The big question is Kamara, right? The big question is what's going to happen with Kamara. If Kamara's in this offense and he's not going to get suspended, or that suspension is going to get pushed back another year, there's a lot of, I think that it opens up a lot for the rest of this offense.
Correct.
I think if he's not there, if the suspension does come down over the summer and he's missing the entire year, Jamal Williams is a guy that I want to draft. But outside of that, I think there's just so much mediocrity in terms of what their final fantasy production is going to be. Because like you said, Derek Carr, I don't know if he's going to throw for close to 5,000 yards. And let's just say he does throw for 3,800 to 4,200 yards. That's going to be spread out amongst a lot of guys, and it's just going to be a lot of mediocre fantasy performances. And if you're reaching for a guy like Olave, or you're reaching for a guy like Michael Thomas, then you're overpaying for guys that there's going to be, again, other guys that are going to be there.
Yeah,
this defense is fairly good. So I think that bodes well for the run game, at least. But then you get, again, with Jamal Williams, you have goal line work being sniped by Taysom Hill. You have just, 3 receivers that the ball is just going to get spread out. I don't think there's any guy there that's going to have like hyper-focused targets at him. And because of that, I just don't trust any of these guys as like, let me go and get them. Like, do I think that this is an offense I want to avoid because they're not talented? No, I think this is an offense I want to avoid because I think the ball is going to just get spread out amongst a bunch of different players. I think it's a solid team. I'm not saying they have a terrible roster, but I think the ball is just going to go to so many different mouths to feed that you're just going to have just mediocre fantasy performances. And that's not what you want out of where their draft position is.
No.
Olave is going to go much higher. If Michael Thomas is there for you in the 8th round, like, I'll probably go and get him.
Because Olave is going to go before Michael Thomas. Michael Thomas if Michael Thomas is healthy, it's still going to happen that way.
I think so too. And so if Michael Thomas is there in the 8th or 9th round, yeah, am I going to pass up on him? Because again, like you said, if he's my flex play, am I mad at it? No. That's a great position to have to be in.
I'd rather have him as a flex than a 1 or 2 for me, for sure.
Yeah, but because of he tried to come back last year, gets hurt, and then is out for the rest of the season, right? And so is there going to be another one of those scenarios where, last year I think he went in the first 5 rounds, and now you lost out on a 5th round draft pick because you're risking it on a guy like that. I think that there are other guys there that I like more, and that depending on where I am in the draft position, I don't know if I necessarily want to reach for a guy like Michael Thomas, and I'm certainly not reaching on Alvin Kamara if the suspension hasn't come down yet. That's a guy I'd rather let someone else deal with that. I'm not going to let him fall to the 6th round. Let me be clear on that. If Alvin Kamara is not suspended and he's sitting there and no one's drafting him because no one wants to take the risk on him, yeah, I'm going to go take a risk on him in the 5th round. Absolutely. I mean, you'd be dumb not to, because you can have an RB1 caliber player in the 5th round because no one wants to take the chance on if he gets suspended or not. But last year, he went in, I think, the 5th overall pick or 6th overall pick for us, and he ended up playing the entire season. So we thought the suspension was going to come down last year. It didn't. That we anticipate the suspension coming down, so I think that's going to kind of be the big driving point for this team is if he's there or not.
Yeah. Well, let's wrap it up. You froze about like a minute ago, so everybody watching, you're looking at a still shot of Chris looking off in the distance. It's a beautiful picture of you. Great beard, and I love the Captain America reference. But my closing comments on this are: I don't hate this team a lot. I think people are going to hype this team a little bit more than it needs to be. Again, if the team is healthy, the issue is of spreading the ball around, a lot of mouths to feed. If there's no Kamara, I actually like Kendry Miller a little bit as a sneaky late round pick, sleeper pick, because I think he's a better all around running back than Jamal Williams. There, I said it. That being said, if Michael Thomas is there, Olave is going to be tough to draft higher up there. And then if Michael Thomas is not there, it's going to be tough to trust Olave having to beat some double teams and to beat those guys and tough defenses when it's just him out there running around and these secondary receivers. So
Right.
again, the value of the players are good. It's kind of like the Steelers. Like there's good names there. There's a lot of mouths to feed when everybody's healthy in there. That being said, if somebody's not healthy, somebody may shine. Cream will rise to the top. But I don't see Derek Carr throwing for 4,800 yards and 30 touchdowns and being a top 5 quarterback like these guys did last year. Look at quarterback number 5 with Geno Smith. I don't see him doing what Geno Smith did, even though he's on a team that could be similar. So
Yeah.
that if you like the clip, like and subscribe, and always click the little bell for notifications. Tune in next time.